blunt. It won't help them win. The DNC reportedly interviewed hundreds of people across all 50 states, and apparently the conclusion is so damaging, party leaders think it will hurt them. Now they're pointing to the Dems' victories this year in blue states as justification for leaving 2024 in the dust. But not everyone in the party is pleased, as they're concerned about ignoring past mistakes. All right, Joey, if I were to figure out what went wrong in 2024, I think it would rhyme with Mamala Maris, but maybe you have a different take.
No, I think she was a terrible messenger for a terrible message. And so I think that she's a big part of it. A bad candidate doesn't win, even when the platform is popular. A bad candidate definitely doesn't win when the platform is not popular. I mean, she had Joe Biden's record attached to her for number one. Number two, there were things like gender identity and immigration that the American people swung incredibly hard on. I think this autopsy only matters because they came out and made a big deal about it after the election because they lost so bad they had no choice. So they made promises right after the election to try to calm the tides, and now they're being asked to fulfill those promises. And they're like, no, we don't need to re-examine that because it's bad for us, and they're probably right.
Molly, I remember when the Republican Party had to do one of these autopsies. I believe it was after 2012. Mm-hmm. They did an autopsy, and I think Trump was the answer to the death, right? I think he revived the party. He created a whole new movement that the party hopefully will stick with. But Democrats here, they don't want to release it. They think that their victories here with Mamdani and in New Jersey and Virginia are good enough. Why waste time going over the past?
Yeah, I think the problem here is they made the promise and then didn't deliver on it. And then
they never do that, Molly.
The other thing, too, is that I think it'll eventually leak. However, similar to Kamala Harris's book, I don't know if there'll be any big surprises in it. You know what I mean? Jamie Raskin's talking about how do we really tell? You know, there's so many things. There probably are so many things. It's probably not one thing. There might be a list that the Democrats have that perhaps would be worth going over and looking at and moving on to the next election. But as you mentioned in some other elections, sometimes it's the right person, the right candidate, and fresh blood. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think message and messenger, to Joey's point. I think it's interesting. I want to know what they think went wrong. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
And that they've put together this document and they're telling us it's so damaging, we can't let you see it. Yeah. So now I'm like, no, well, now we have to see it, please. But you're right. I'm glad you brought up 2012 because Mitt Romney lost that election, fairly competitive, but Obama won somewhat decisively in 2012. And the Republicans said, oh, boy, we've lost two in a row. Soul searching. Here's this whole binder that we put out. And here's some suggestions. And almost every suggestion would point in the opposite direction of Donald Trump.
Yep.
And then he was nominated, and then he won the election. Yep. So parties, you know, they can do this, and sometimes there's probably some worthwhile stuff in there, but they don't always align with what voters are going to actually decide on, which is interesting. I also just think in terms of the bigger picture of 2024, the autopsy is relatively simple. The Democrats had an octogenarian who could not do the job at the time, who certainly could not do the job for 4 more years. They lied about it consistently. They called us crazy for noticing. And then when the lie blew up on a debate stage, they threw out their entire primary election and put in the vice president, who was picked for terrible reasons, who was an awful radical candidate, and she lost.
Yeah. She still thinks that it was the closest election in modern history, though.
Yeah. Who's going to tell her?
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews